My name is Amarjit Singh Matharu. I'm 54. I was born in Leeds. We used to live in Leeds 7, just playing in the street. So I was born in 62, so probably earliest memories, probably around 65, 66, something like that. Just playing out, what we used to call playing out. That's my earliest memories. Well, my elder brother, who was 5 years older than me, I remember him putting crates in the street, and everybody, just like the kids, would all get together and we'd have a game of cricket. And obviously I was only sort of maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4, so you'd either be, I can't remember whether you were watching or what you were doing, but one of my earliest memories was going to Hyde Park, and there used to be a concrete cricket pitch, and I was sat at the boundary and my brothers and they were playing, and someone hit a ball and it hit me in the nose. So I remember that. I must have been about 5, so I think he was really scared that taking me home. So yeah, that was a memory. And then actually I went to Royal Park School, and we had a Royal Park cricket team, and we used to actually play on that was our home ground, the concrete square. And then we used to, I suppose it was summer, we'd always have wickets drawn on the wall, and we'd play cricket, with a tennis ball. And yeah, played a lot of cricket when I was sort of probably 9, 10, something like that. Well, my family is a very sporting family, because my brother, my eldest brother, I've got 3 brothers, and he started a football team in probably 1960, which my other brother was playing as well, and then they took it to quite a high level, and I played when I was about 16, 17. But at school we'd play football, a lot of football. Cricket became, once I left junior school, cricket wasn't really much to do with what we did. It was more football. So that's what we did. Well, junior school was it was really fun. Really enjoyed school, especially the sports activities, and obviously your friends. I didn't enjoy senior school as much. It seemed more at Royal Park. It was much better because we had good friends and everything, and then you change school and it becomes a bit different. But yeah, it was good. After school, we'd always do some sort of sport, in the gym, or play a bit of football, do a bit of weightlifting or basketball. I used to play in the basketball team. Wasn't very good, but still played. To be honest, very sporty. My friends all used to do sports, so we'd always try to do something. Because my brother used to run a football team called GN Sports. As soon as I was old enough to play, sort of 16, I started playing football, and I played right up till I was about 21, and that's when our team, the football team, started to wasn't going to be a team anymore, and just a friend of my brother's was playing cricket for a team called Muslim Friends, who said there's a new Asian league just started, and so we actually started a team up then, which was I think maybe about 4 or 5 people had played at school before, which had been probably, so if I was 21, probably last time they'd played probably 10 years ago, something like that. And the rest were made up with my other brothers, just to get 11 people. Some of my friends, our friends who were played in the football team. So we had a guy who was like a goalkeeper who became a wicket keeper. Just, you know, so that's how we started really. I always enjoyed cricket when I was a kid. So my brother, he liked it. So when we started, it just seemed good fun, and it was because we were always from a team background. We wanted to do something, and that's why we started. And then it became quite fun as well. But we were never serious. We weren't trying to win the league, or we would wanted to play with the people we had. So obviously we weren't very good, but we enjoyed it every year. Well, the biggest memory was the first game we ever played, to be fair. I remember my brother had the only like proper cricket trousers. Everybody else didn't have any whites, so they were all, we just told everybody, because in them days, everybody used to wear had a white shirt, you know, buttoned right down there. So everybody had a white shirt, but nobody had the trousers. So my brother had a pair of these trousers, and I had just a beige pair of trousers. And so I think maybe 2 or 3 people had what I would say some type of kit, and everybody else just were in matching, you know, like beige or near enough, you know. And to be fair, because we'd never really played cricket before, when we actually turned up to play a team called Shabab, who was run by the actual league organizer, so he was quite well-to-do, and he had restaurants, and his team were dressed just like a test team were, and that was their second team, not even their first team. So, and also, I think for 95% of our players, going to a proper cricket ground was like I don't know, going to Lord's, and we were really sort of thinking, oh, what's going to happen, and we actually ended up winning that game, which was a surprise, and we remember being in our changing room, and the owner of the team was asking them, what's happened, how come this has happened, and we were like really chuffed to that, thinking, you know, we can't even play, and you know, we've beaten this team, and you know, we're just chuffed to be playing on a proper cricket ground, you know, with the boundaries and everything, because the only time we'd ever played was on you know, at the local Roundhay Park, you know, just that was the nearest we'd ever seen a cricket ground, and I think that was probably one of the first times I'd played, because obviously we used to play on a concrete pitch, and this was like, you know, boundaries and scoreboard. That was a big deal, scoreboard, and actually somebody's got clubhouse, and where we had tea, and it was like, oh, this is different, you know, it felt like you were bloody on, you know, playing, you know, like test cricket. It's just like unbelievable, and winning was just a bonus on top. It was funny because it was just, it's like one of them things that happens, and we thought, oh, this is okay, it must be really good, we must be, and we lost the week. I don't think we won another game for about 5-6 games. I think we used to win 1 or 2 games in a year if we were lucky, but just that first game, I'll never forget it. I got 98 not out as well, so that helped. Cricket wasn't that important, it was more football. We were more footballers, but then once you got into the cricket, I would say Kapil Dev was very much somebody I thought of as, you know, a role model. I went on to meet him as well, so that was fun, but that's through golf, not through cricket. Yeah, Kapil Dev for me was obviously when India won the World Cup, you know, he was like the big, he won the World Cup for India, so yeah, Kapil Dev. Cricket wasn't never that important, you know, where you'd watch Leeds United, and that was more, you know, Leeds was the thing. In cricket, only when India would, I think, really, when the only real time I can say, well, I watched cricket was when India won the World Cup, and I think that's when the interest became a bit more, because usually India came to England and got beat comfortably every time. So, but not that we watched it. It'd be just, oh, it's India playing, that's it. I think we joined maybe 92, 93. And I think we played for 13, 14 years. But we were never really interested in trying to win, become a better team. We just enjoyed the people who were playing together, and a good evening. You know, Sunday was our night. Play the game, go have a few drinks, have something to eat in a restaurant, and that's what it was all about. Not that we didn't want to win, but you know, obviously. But that's what it was. It was social, very social. I think it was at the time. It was what we needed, because it was like a big step forward to have a league. But I think by the time we'd grown bigger than the league, not bigger, outgrown the league, was when all the teams that were playing in the league were basically renting the grounds. And after 10 or 12 years of playing fun cricket, you know, and I used to play on a Saturday as well, and I found all the sort of the English clubs had their own facilities, they could do what they wanted. That started to get under my skin, that why, with so many Asians playing this one sport of cricket, that not one club has their own facility. And that you were like a lodger, and any time they can say, oh no, you can't play here. So that became a bit of a crusade for me, really, to say, you know, we can do better. And that's when that's when we joined the Leeds League. It wasn't very easy at all, because they just didn't think, you know, that an Asian club could run. So that was a difficult thing. So we had to do a lot of things. We spent over 50,000 pounds to achieve that goal. So that's when we really went into what we call major league cricket. First of all, we had to have plenty of meetings with the Leeds City Council to find us a piece of land that we could develop. That took us quite a long time, and then we finally ended up at a place called the Prince Philip Centre, which we redeveloped. We got some contractors in to actually level the field and make it into a cricket ground. Keith Boyce, who was the Yorkshire County groundsman, I went to see him and proposed what we were trying to do, and actually he's at the club where I play now. He's the groundsman there, and he remembers me coming there and telling him that we're going to build this ground, and he thought it was all a bit pie in the sky, and then when it actually happened, he was like, oh really? And he said he came and helped us lay the cricket square, and that's where we started. We did all that, you know, because we got recommendations from the Leeds League to what facilities we needed, you know, like fencing and this, that, the other, and I don't think they actually expected us to do it. But when we did it and went back to them and said, okay, we've done that, can you come and inspect it now? I think that threw them a bit, and even then they turned our application down, which on our committee we had a chap called Jack, and he took it as a bit of a racist thing. So he actually approached them and said, you know, you can't do this. We've just spent £50,000 on this, facility, and you're saying we can't play. And I think that took them back a bit, and then they asked us that we were going to come into the major leagues, and you know how hard it is to have a good team in there. So we had to give them a registration of all the players that were going to play for us, and also because it allowed overseas, we named overseas players who were going to play. Maninder Singh who was a test player for India. He was our main overseas guy that was going to be there. So it was, even then, the only reason they let us into the league was that we gave them our what they did say to us was that, you know, teams don't like to vote teams out once they're in the league. So what we suggested was that we would give them our resignation before the season started, and we had like 5 points, because back in that time they all realised that Asian people were good cricketers, but they weren't very good at administration, or they didn't care. Discipline was very poor. Turning up on time, organisation, that was the done thing. That's what I think that's what the English people thought of Asian people. So we gave them these points where we said we'd be the best dressed club. We would have as good a ground as we could make. Our discipline would be, you know, A1. And so we said that, okay, even if we win the league and everything and the discipline's not good or anything, you can, on that point, you can throw us out of the league. So that's the only way we got into the league. And I'm sure that if it would have been an English club, they wouldn't have had to do that. And they let us in. And that year we actually won the second division. I don't think we lost a game in the league. I think the only match we lost was to Carlton in like the quarterfinals of the cup, who were the first division team. And that's how we started. I just felt that, you know, you've got 20 teams in the Qadi Azam, and I don't know how many other Asians are playing. There must be a vehicle for these people to actually move on, where it was like there were maybe 2 or 3 playing in this English team and this English team, and really, who knows how they've been treated, you know. But mine always was, because I wouldn't confess to be a great cricketer, but I just wanted that somebody who was like me, that wanted to play, you know, they could get a fair chance. Again, rather than, you know, obviously a lot of our Asians come over from, because I'm born here, so I'm a British Asian, where obviously if somebody's come from Pakistan or India that maybe, you know, 5 years, 10 years ago, and they've played cricket all their life, they're going to get into any team because they'll be that good. But what about somebody who just wants to play cricket? And, you know, that was my thing. And I just felt that, you know, to develop cricket for these young kids who may not go to an English club to start playing, you know, it takes a lot of determination to go out of your comfort zone to, you know, go there and want to play. So I thought, well, if we could make it easier, but we need the best facilities, we need a route for somebody to say, you know, I can go to this club, and if I'm good enough, I can play for England or I can play for Yorkshire. So that was always my goal, and always to bring the best people over to help these people, or be able to send these people abroad to get that coaching, just that X factor that you need. People need the help. They need people with the knowledge to just develop them. Like my daughter's a professional golfer, and I've been with her around the world to meet some of the top coaches, and some of the stuff we've learned, you know, you can't buy that. So that was always my goal, to maybe produce, I didn't even think of it at the time, to produce somebody from our club that might go on to play for Yorkshire and England, and just that would reinforce everything, and it would, you know, start a new generation going again. Like now we see so many people playing for England now, you know, Adil Rashid, you see Asians, but in them days they couldn't even play for Yorkshire. If I said it all started from there, but I feel the Quaid-e-Azam League is a good playing field for people to play, but there's nothing gone on from that. I don't know how, without investment or people, you know, it's very rare to see that anybody's going to put their money in and be that keen. I've always been a sportsman, so for me, I live for sport. So for me, it's not a big deal, but for other people, you know, I don't think they look at the big picture and are not that bothered about it. You know, they're just looking at their own little team and they win the league. That's it, you know. Where I'd want to be a bit more like on a national level, to say, look, okay, these guys, or we've developed somebody, or just help cricket really. We had our own business when we were playing cricket. We had quite a few shops and things and everything. So we were reasonably well to do. That's how we could sort of put the money into it. I don't think if we weren't reasonably well off at the time, that we could have done that. So that was, the time was my own time, but I ended up working, you know, probably more on the cricket side than working in my business. Well, Bradford Park Avenue, after I think 2 years, I think the first year we signed a chap called Vivek Razdan, who'd played Test cricket for India. So that was a bit of a coup for us, and we won the league. And that summer, Pakistan were touring England, and my best friend Ijaz Ahmed, who I'd met in '90, just before the World Cup, where they won the World Cup in '92. And we'd become very, very close friends, and they were touring England, and they were playing at Headingley, and Ijaz scored 150 there. And we'd agreed before that he would play for us the second year of us being in the league, because I wanted a boost for Asian people to think, oh, you know, it is possible to bring such a current player to an Asian club, and you know, and it had that effect. And I remember they played at Headingley, and all the team came to my house that evening, because we used to live in Roundhay. We used to have a big house, and it was great. And actually, when he scored the 150 on the Saturday, the Evening Post actually put a picture of him on the back. And I don't know, still to this day, I don't know how they got the information. And it said, Ijaz joins Khalsa. And that was like, so I was a bit embarrassed, because he told me that when he was on the ground on the Saturday fielding, that people were saying to him, you know, who the F is Khalsa? You know, and he was like, Amarjit knows a lot of people. So then, you know, he saw the newspaper, and so the year he played for us, we won the cup. We were in the first division, and I think we just finished second in the league. And then I had Yorkshire got in touch with me about they were having a lot of problems with racism. Against Yorkshire, saying that Yorkshire's racist, they won't have any Asian players. And we had a general meeting, and they asked me my opinion on how they could get around this situation. And I gave them this idea of that you need an Asian club, managed, doesn't matter who plays for the club, but managed, that will have a sympathy to Asian people, and you know, would promote that, and that they should be in the Bradford League. So a guy playing for him, if he scores 1,000 runs, Yorkshire would be looking at him thinking he's scored 1,000 runs. Or somebody who bowls, taking 100 wickets, they'd look at him. And I said, if they can see that road to the top, I said, that's what you need. And I said, we would be able to look after the facilities and, make that ground and have a clubhouse and everything, just like all the other clubs, all the other so-called white clubs. And they were in favour of that. And they gave us the ground, I think after the third year, to play at Park Avenue, which we spent another £4,000 or £5,000 on to bring it up to some sort of level, and we were going to be given that ground to develop Asian cricket. We played there 2 or 3 years. 3 years, I think we played, and things were going quite well. And I was informed by Ralph Middlebrook that the trustees of Park Avenue were, I think, some ex-players from Yorkshire, and I don't know how many trustees were. And he told me that after the lease of, I think there was like 3 years left, that they wouldn't be giving us the ground, and which I was quite surprised. And that's where I thought, well, here we go. This is where the racism comes in. And because he said, I mean, it was a joke. He said to me, oh, I can say to you, well, they've said we're not going to give it to no Pakis, the ground. And I just laughed, and I said, oh, didn't you tell him I'm Indian? But he was always a person who sort of thought there wasn't racism in cricket, and he was always anti that, and he was a bit in tears actually, because he saw it as it is. And I said, well, Ralph, don't worry about it, because you only see it at a higher level, you don't see it at the other levels. And he was really disappointed, and that's when I decided, well, if I can't take cricket, Asian cricket, to where I think it should be, then I'm not interested in it. And I think we folded the team sort of that year. Once I came back, I spoke to Ralph, and he said, oh, that they're doing this to Park Avenue. And I said, oh, well, do you know, I still feel that there's unfinished business, and I think that model of what I was trying to do in the first place would still is something that needs to be done, because nobody's actually moved on from that time, where I thought once we'd started that train, that some would get on it and take over from it. But actually, the only difference I've seen coming into cricket again is that the Qadi-Azam have got another division, better organised, but in what I would call Asian cricket to develop, zero. Nothing's happened. I've heard that clubs have been sort of run by, like in Bradford League, have been run by Asians and stuff, and have folded and this and that. But I think you need somebody who's determined to do something in cricket, not for themselves, but for actually the development of cricket. So that's why I've done my level 2 in coaching, just to do that. But I still think it can be done, and I know for a fact that people from India and Pakistan would love to come over here and have a chance to help develop, give their expertise. It just needs the opportunity, and I think Park Avenue is the opportunity, because it's in the centre. Obviously the facilities would be great. I just think if people are on the right page and want it to happen, it can happen. But that's a big ask, and people, I don't know who's willing to put that time and effort into it. Certainly I am, because it's something I've always dreamt about. I've never been a great cricketer, much better golfer and footballer than that, but for some reason that's always been my passion. So I'd like to be involved in something like that, and I think it can happen. And especially I'd love to see India-Pakistan play at Park Avenue in the future. I've spoken to my friends in India and Pakistan, and they say yes, we would play. And I think it'd be great for the community as well to see them people, not at Headingley, but just, you know, in Bradford or just, and, you know, we'd like to make it, you know, more than just a cricket match. We'd like to bring the juniors in, let them train with these people, and just, you know, just do, you know, and, you know, I think that's what's needed. And also, like we said, have a team that's run, a club that's run by Asians, as I say, not necessarily Asian players, but a mixture of everybody, and to give them that opportunity from sort of, I'd love to sort of have people who are like start at 6, 7, 8 years old and are playing on the best facilities, get the best coaching, just have that type of chance. And because there's so many Asians play, but really they have nowhere to go apart from they have to go to an English club, and I don't think that's right in this day and age. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right with the amount of population that Asians have here, especially Bradford, that there isn't, you know, a quality club run professionally and have the facilities, the finances to actually do that. And as I said, I've heard that the Bradford Park Avenue is going to be, you know, for the Yorkshire ladies and all that. So in a way, it's like diverse. It's not really what is needed. I'm not saying that it can't be used for that, but then, you know, it's there is a massive need for that as cricket gets more and more popular. The 2020, I just think, like, if there was a team there and you could get one of the top stars who's playing for the national team, and he's there playing every Saturday, for instance, I just think the enthusiasm of the youngsters would be phenomenal. Let's just say Virat Kohli came to play there, or somebody from Pakistan who's, somebody. I just think the interest, because then it makes the thing very real, very. You can approach these people at the moment. The only time they ever see the heroes is when they come to play Test cricket, and what do they actually get? They can't get nowhere near them. They can't meet them on a one-to-one basis. They can't have somebody telling them, showing them, And I think that's where cricket should have been by now. That was my dream, to have that, to have the young, I don't know, Virat Kohli coming here at 19 or 20 before he became famous, playing, and someone said, I played with him and he's the best player in the world. And, and they're over in India and Pakistan, they would love to come over, And once you create this bond, like I have with Ijaz, they always will do anything for you. So if you've met a young Virat Kohli or a young Sachin Tendulkar and you've done something for them, they'll always repay you by helping you, and that's what I found that's missing, and I think it's got to be time for that to happen now. Got to be. I think it's very difficult for Yorkshire because they have to be. Basically, they are a club trying to win whatever they're trying to do. So whoever, at the moment, you're looking at certain parents giving all their time to their child to make them, and that's when Yorkshire will, oh yeah, he's really good. So they will cherry pick that. I'm talking about developing somebody whose father works, you know, he has got time, but he can say, okay, you can go to Park Avenue, you're going to be coached by the best people. Money-wise, you don't need to have any money, because the club should be strong enough to help these kids. And that's really what's needed, because every person who has a parent that can spend 24 hours helping them, but how many parents are like that? And usually I would find that from the poorer backgrounds, probably their people are more talented, but them people will never have a chance to show their talent because their parents maybe not educated, but they do know cricket, but they don't know how to get them to where they need to be. So you're going to find probably Asians coming from good backgrounds, maybe not the best talent out there that are coming to the forefront, where I think if we could go into the streets of Bradford and find these people who are playing on the streets, but like back in the day, but can turn up, maybe have no kit, maybe have nothing, and just say, you know, you want to play, and you see somebody, and you've got somebody, I don't know, like if we had somebody like Ijaz or somebody who was and say, there's a kid. Like Imran Khan's always been known that he picked people by just watching them. Like I remember Ijaz told me that he picked him, you know, and he said I had the most terrible stance and everything, and you know, these are the stories you hear. And I think as we got 2020, we've got the 50 overs, we've got the test matches, you know, that cricket is on every day now. But still, there is no facility for a young kid to go into a good environment where the guys are going to be treated equally. You know, I'm not saying people don't get treated equally, but there is always a bit of discrimination somewhere, you know. I'm talking about the normal person, not the hugely talented kid that, you know, that you will go on anyway. So that's the situation I find, and I think Park Avenue is the perfect place for it to happen, and it's the right place. My daughter, who's a professional golfer now, she used to be our scorer back in the day. My son was a good cricketer when he was, because he'd grown up around it, so he knew Ijaz, he knew everybody. So they, you know, you just get a love for it. And he was a good cricketer. When he was 12, he played for Leeds City. He was the highest wicket taker for Leeds City. He was like a leg spinner and opening batsman. And I always was going to send him to India or Pakistan to get coached by Ijaz or through there, just to give him that extra. I mean, I've done it in golf. I had this plan of how you do it, and I was, before we had the problem with Park Avenue, I was going to send my son to somewhere with Ijaz or somewhere, so he could get, you know, a different level of coaching or just a different environment. And obviously if they come back, they're going to be much better. And that's what I wanted to do for all kids that showed that special talent or something, just to give them that opportunity. Pay for them, you know, that was the whole point. Pay for them to go over, spend maybe, you know, a month, you know, and bring them back. And then in a way we were helping Yorkshire, because if this kid develops, or whoever it is, then it's better for Yorkshire, you know, and then hopefully he'll go play for India or England, or I'm sorry, not India, England, and everybody's happy. And the club would get a lot of recognition for doing these things. I just thought it was a win-win for everybody, and as I say, I'm surprised it's not happened. I think people who, back in that time, people who were actually in charge of these like lead schools, teams and everything, Asians want really that. I'm not saying they didn't want them, but I think if they were just unbelievably talented, then that's what they expected, and development wasn't a real thing for them. I don't think the people, but they were not probably official coaches or recognized. They were just like maybe a school teacher or something that was, with my son, what happened was he went for the coach. He went for the trial with lead schools, and he didn't get into it. And then he worked a year with Ralph Middlebrook, who used to run the cricket school at Yorkshire. He coached Darren Gough and a lot of players that played for Yorkshire. And after a year, he said, he would easily walk into the team, and he didn't get picked. So I spoke to Ralph, and he was shocked, and he made a few phone calls, and then my son was given a chance in the middle of the season. He ended up being the highest wicket taker for Leeds, and then he didn't get a trial for Yorkshire. So I found that very disappointing, but obviously I had the contacts, and I felt that was a bit unfair that I'm using my contacts. If I was just a normal Joe Bloggs, what would I do? Because I wouldn't know anybody or anything. So that disappointed me, and that turned me away from the cricket. So it made me feel that actually the Park Avenue dream that I had was definitely needed. And this is I still believe that now. Okay, we have people like Adil Rashid and all these people, but their parents were probably very into cricket, very determined, and that's why they've made it. Probably if the parent didn't have any knowledge of cricket, he probably wouldn't be playing cricket. Where, as you see, a lot of the English people, they're very organised. They do all sports. They do football in summer, in winter. They do cricket. They do so. They're well ahead of us in this situation. So, and I still think Asian families are a bit very, they still feel that sports is not maybe the right way to go. Education. But as you see nowadays, you can earn a good living from sport. My daughter's a professional golfer. I've been away from cricket for probably nearly 20 years now, helping my daughter, in her profession. I just felt that I needed a qualification, and I thought I did my level 1 coaching back in the day, which doesn't exist anymore. So I did the level 2, which was to help people under like 15, because I really want to help juniors. That's the start. But as I say, my real aim would be to have under 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, right up to open age, and have such a system like we did at Khalsa, which we were the best dressed team. We had the best teas, we had the best administration, everything the best. So even a good player, whether he be white or anything, would say, "Oh, I want to go and play for Bradford Park Avenue because they're the best." It just happens that they're run by an Asian committee or whatever, and I think it needs it. I still think that there's a lack. I know the Qadhiasm do a great job. They've got these teams, but I'm thinking about the future of kids. And if we are right about it, there's more Asian kids will be playing cricket than an English person, because they're not that intense into cricket. So if you have 100 Asians, probably 70% of them probably want to play cricket. If you have 100 English people, you might be lucky if 20 want to play cricket, because they'll have football, they'll have all these other sports, and cricket's not that important. So on a talent basis, you're going to get 70 people, and out of 70, there's much more chance of getting somebody great than out of 20. So I think for the country, for England, it's a must. You know, I just think all round, I cannot see how it's not a winner, you know. But it needs somebody passionate to run it. That's all I can say. And make it happen. But there's nobody I can see making it happen. You get a lot of Asian people are working for Yorkshire County Cricket, but it's a job. They're getting paid, they get a job. So they go along, you know, they do what they have to do. But there's nobody like saying, hold on, this is not what we want, and we need to do this, we need to do that. And I think it's frustrating. For me, it's frustrating. When I've come back to cricket, it's very frustrating to see the development's not there. Everybody's individual. You know, there's parents who have got their kids into Yorkshire, and I've spent a bit of time, you know, watching. There's a lot more Asians, but I've noticed they're all from very good backgrounds. Father's a doctor. He's a solicitor, or he's a, you know, that sort of level, and the kids are well educated and everything. But I'm looking at a kid whose dad's a taxi driver, who's got no real what's the word? Organisation behind him, where someone who's a doctor or something, they're going to be well organised, you know. And I think that's the people I'm looking for. Well, the Khalsa started as 10, 15 guys getting together just to do something, which happened to be cricket. We played for 13 years, fun, never really won much, but enjoyed every minute of it. Some of us who were a bit more serious about it played on a Saturday, and we found that the Saturdays where we were playing for English clubs were so well organised, had such good facilities, and that's where it became a bit of a issue that why Asians haven't got it. So me personally, I took that on to say, no, this is not right. We have to do something about this. We got a few, me, my brother, an English chap called Jack Webster, who had his own insurance business. We all put like £7,000-8,000 into like a committee thing, and we built our own ground, which then we got into the Leeds League, where we became the first Asian club that played Major League Cricket, which for me is still very proud of that, you know. And then luckily, because we were into cricket, we knew quite a few Indian and Pakistani players who obviously they gravitate to you as well, because they've never seen a club run by Asians and have their own ground and all this. And we met some great people, Ijaz Ahmed, Maninder Singh, I met Sachin Tendulkar, and they were all very good on that situation of they wanted to help if they could, and that gave us a big boost as well, and we managed to get Ijaz Ahmed, who was the world's number 3 batsman, to play for us in our second season, which actually gave us so much credit in the community, but in the actual cricketing world, to say, okay, here we go. We have got somebody, an Asian club that do things right. They do everything properly. And just by doing that, we were contacted by Yorkshire to move to Bradford Park Avenue, which was a ground that Yorkshire used to use, which was a county ground. So that was a great achievement to say where we'd come from. People who were just playing friendly cricket, and we developed from that. And unfortunately, you know, things didn't go right with the ground after 3 years, and we had to stop playing because we couldn't go back to our old ground because it was not in the same condition that we left it. But I still feel that unfinished business for myself. That's why I started to took my coaching badge. But I still would like to do it at a major level. I think Bradford is the place for that. Like you're doing this documentary of cricket from back in the day when people played in the street with milk crates. Still remember the milk crates. And I think it's long overdue, this movement from having just this Sunday league, for instance, with, okay, they've got 30 teams, but that's not really moving cricket on. A friend of my brother's, he played for a team called Muslim Friends, and he said, oh, we should start a team. How many of us play cricket? And I said, oh, I played at school. My brother said he played at school, and he said he was the only player that was sort of playing cricket at that time. So his name was Kulvinder Singh, and so we started the team, and then I became like the secretary, and we used to go to the committee meetings, and then all of a sudden you found, oh, these people are playing, and there was very funny characters there that were, I remember we used to have in the meetings were like, what's going to happen this month? You know, we'd had people handing in, solicitors' letters, and you know, it meant that much to people, which to us it was a bit of fun. But then you saw how serious these people, it meant the world to them. That Sunday game meant everything. And we used to play, our home ground used to be at Leeds Road in Huddersfield, and that was like a big ground, and there was like maybe 4 or 5 matches going on, and so you would all see what was happening, and it was so diverse, people that were playing the game. You had the older people still playing, you still had the odd youngster, but at that time it was people who'd probably come from Pakistan, or well, mostly from Pakistan, that, you know, reliving that cricket, you know, that they'd done in their probably youth, and they now maybe were in their 30s or 20s, and it just in the 80s it was just unbelievable. And because nowadays people have all got grounds now, meaning they rent grounds, so that it's individual, but there in the 80s, you know, nobody could afford it, so, you know, you'd all play on Leeds Road, where you know, it was probably, I don't know, probably cost you £30 a game or £40 a game. And back in them days, you probably wouldn't get a private ground, because they wouldn't want Asians playing on their ground or stuff. So we were playing on Leeds Road. So then everybody knew what everybody was doing, you know, in the games, and, you know, then, you know, you maybe would start watching a game after, if you finished early, that, you know, was exciting. And yeah, I always remember Leeds Road was a fantastic meeting place for maybe, so you'd have maybe 8 teams playing there, you know, just fantastic time. But obviously then you move on to, you know, you want to do better, so you want to get into a private ground and stuff like that. So yeah, unbelievable times. And you had, I remember Shabab was the team, like they were the Manchester United. I remember that very clearly, that they were the Manchester United or Chelsea of the time, and if anybody you were lucky if anybody could beat them, because they were just So they had players like, Ronaldo and all these, the people used to travel from Manchester. A player would play for them, and they were a very good team. And actually, our captain, who captained when we were in the Leeds League, was one of them players. His name was Siraj, and he also actually is a physio now, and he actually was a physio for Yorkshire second team, and he was a very good player and a very good gentleman, and he captained us. But he was part of that, start of that, and that's where I first saw what I would call, proper, people who had proper kit for a start. We didn't even have any kit. Normal, I think we had about 2 bats and about 2 pads between us, and it was, but it was good days, great days, loved it.